There comes a moment in every life when the silence becomes unbearable, when the quiet voice inside you, the one you've ignored for far too long, begins to roar. It does not whisper anymore. It demands. It thunders. It is your future, and it is no longer waiting patiently. It is calling you to rise, not to survive, not to get by, but to rise to the height of what you were born for. You were not built for comfort. You were not designed to merely float through life like driftwood on a tide. You were made of fire, of breath, of unshakable will, and the future. It sees that in you. It sees through the facade, the hesitation, the excuses, and it asks only one thing: will you answer? Because every second you spend doubting yourself, someone else is forging steel out of pain. While you hesitate, another soul is burning their plan into existence. And while you sleep, your future is pacing back and forth, wondering when you will finally wake up to your own power. This world does not owe you understanding. It does not wait for permission. It rewards boldness. It bends to vision. It listens to those who command it, not with arrogance, but with clarity. And that clarity, it begins within. Clarity is the compass of giants. Think of Edison, who failed thousands of times but never lost sight of the light. Think of Ford, who imagined a motor car for the common man in a world still driven by horses. Or Lincoln, beaten down by defeat after defeat, rising through grief, through rejection, through endless failure, to lead a fractured nation through its darkest hour. They were not born special. They were born certain, not of what they could do, but of what they must do. The future does not wait for the conditions to be perfect. It does not wait for support, or applause, or signs. It demands that you step into the arena, bruised, uncertain, and bare-knuckled, and still refuse to leave until your mission breathes. But that begins with your mind, because your mindset is not just a perspective. It is the lens through which reality is shaped. If your thoughts are broken, your world will fracture with them. If your beliefs are small, your results will shrink to fit inside them. You must become the guardian of your own mind. Every thought you allow to stay must serve your vision. Every doubt must be interrogated. Every fear put on trial. Because if you let those shadows grow, they will take the throne. You are not your doubts. You are not your past. You are the architect of what happens next. You are the author, the builder, the sculptor, and the clay. But hear this: your mind will fight you. It will beg for the comfort it's known. It will recoil from the unknown, cling to the familiar, sabotage your climb. That's not weakness. That's conditioning. That's biology. That's the brain doing what it was wired to do: protect, preserve, play it safe. But you are not here to be safe. You are here to be free. And freedom begins with belief, not hope, not luck. Belief, the unwavering, irrational certainty that you will make it, no matter how long it takes. Because belief is not about evidence. It's about declaration. It's looking into the mirror and choosing, again and again, to see not just what is, but what must be. It is the fire that says, I will not shrink to fit this life. This life will stretch to hold me. And yes, the world will resist you. It always resists those who try to change the rules. It will mock you, doubt you, tell you to be realistic. But understand this: realism is a cage, and belief is the key. When Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right, he wasn't being clever. He was telling the truth of the universe. Your belief, or lack of it, is the blueprint. Your future will be built to match it, brick by brick, breath by breath. So if your future is demanding you to rise, you must rise in thought first. Rise in conviction. Rise in your ability to see what others can't, and build it anyway. That is the beginning of transformation. But belief alone is not enough. You need clarity, razor-sharp, soul-aligned clarity. Not just a vague idea of success, not just a list of goals. You need a vision that electrifies you, that grips your bones and makes sleep irrelevant. Because vague dreams create vague results. You cannot hit a target you cannot see, and you will never chase a life that doesn't set your heart on fire. Ask yourself, what would I create if I knew I couldn't fail? What kind of life would make me wake up gasping with purpose? What kind of legacy would make my future children proud to carry my name? Most people never ask these questions. They fear the answers, because the answers demand change. They demand action, and action is inconvenient to the comfort they've grown addicted to. But you are not most people. You would not still be listening if you were. The world is waiting for someone willing to live with clarity, willing to cut away distractions, silence the noise, and focus with ruthless intent. That kind of clarity turns ordinary people into legends. It turned Carnegie from a penniless immigrant into a titan of steel. It turned Disney from a bankrupt animator into a dreamer who reshaped culture. It turned a rail-splitting lawyer into one of the greatest leaders history has ever known. Clarity is a weapon, a force, a beacon in fog. With it you will endure storms. Without it, even the breeze will break you. And once you've found it, once your vision is set like stone, the next demand is purpose. Not just what you do, but why. Why must you rise? Why must this vision live? Because when your purpose is shallow, your motivation will crumble at the first sign of struggle. But when your purpose runs deep, when it is tied to something bigger than comfort, bigger than ego, bigger than status, nothing will stop you. Purpose is the oxygen of perseverance. When your purpose becomes sacred, your grind becomes prayer. Your effort becomes devotion. Your obstacles become offerings. Because you are no longer working for applause or approval, you are working to fulfill something eternal, something that was placed inside you before the world told you who you should be. You are not here to chase success. You are here to become it, to embody it, to live so aligned with your vision that success cannot help but bow to your presence, and that begins with discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It is the purest form of self-love. It is saying, I care enough about my future to act in its best interest, even when it's uncomfortable. It's the refusal to betray your destiny for the convenience of now. Discipline is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Because ideas are cheap, vision is common. But execution, that's where few dare to go. That's where champions are carved from clay. Do not wait for motivation. It will abandon you. Do not wait for inspiration. It is fleeting. Build a rhythm. Build rituals. Show up when it's boring. Show up when it's hard. Show up when your heart is heavy and your mind is full of noise. Because the ones who rise are the ones who learn to move even when the feeling is gone. There are days when the world will not see you, when your progress will feel invisible, when your work echoes into silence. But discipline does not care for praise. It only cares for alignment with who you said you'd become. Do you want the glory? Then earn it in the shadows. Earn it when no one claps. Earn it when no one watches. Earn it when it would be so easy to quit and you refuse. Because action is the bridge between desire and destiny. Not talking, not planning, not waiting for a sign. Action, now, relentless, imperfect, forward. Success is not one giant leap. It is thousands of small, unglamorous steps. It is doing what must be done, especially when it doesn't feel magical. It is mastering repetition until greatness becomes your default setting. Think of Beethoven, writing symphonies he could no longer hear. Think of Jobs, fired from his own company, returning to reinvent the world. Think of Mandela, locked in a cell for 27 years, still rising with dignity to lead. They were not lucky. They were relentless. They kept moving when the world said stop. They acted in faith, not blind hope, but disciplined belief paired with unstoppable motion. And if your future is still demanding you to rise, you must match that demand with action fierce enough to match your calling. Because action does not ask for perfection, it asks for commitment, to move when it's messy, to build while bleeding, to create while uncertain. You will be tempted to quit. You will be tempted to slow down, to compare, to shrink. But comparison is a thief, and shrinking serves no one. You were not made to fit in. You were made to break molds. You were not made to play small. You were made to echo across generations. But that kind of impact requires gratitude. Gratitude is not weakness. It is not soft. Gratitude is fuel. It is the alchemy that turns pain into wisdom, failure into refinement. It is the anchor that holds you steady when storms come, when winds delay, when the road feels long. Gratitude sharpens your eyes. It lets you see the gift in every challenge, the lesson in every delay. It keeps you from poisoning your progress with bitterness and reminds you that every breath is proof that your mission continues. Be grateful, not because everything is perfect, but because you are still in the fight, still breathing, still becoming. And if you can find gratitude in the climb, you will never run out of strength, but the journey will test you, because life is not static. It shifts, evolves, punches without warning, and the next demand your future places on you is adaptability. You must learn to bend without breaking, to pivot without panicking, to change plans without changing purpose. Adaptability is not weakness, it is mastery. It is the difference between a tree that snaps in the storm and one that sways, roots deep, branches wide, rising again as the sun returns. The world is shifting faster than ever. Those who rise are not the most talented, not the most intelligent. They are the ones who move when the terrain shifts, who reinvent instead of complain, who upgrade instead of mourn what used to be. There will be detours, delays, doors that slam in your face. Good, let them slam, because each one that shuts forces you to find another way, and in finding another way, you become more than you were. Adaptability is how the Wright brothers turned failure into flight, how Netflix buried Blockbuster, how Amazon rewrote the rules of commerce. They did not weep when the old way died. They birthed a new one. So ask yourself, when life shifts, do I freeze, or do I evolve? If you wish to answer the call of your future, you must dance with uncertainty, smile in chaos, be humble enough to admit what no longer serves you, and wise enough to let it go. But none of this, not clarity, not purpose, not belief, not action, none of it matters without resilience. Resilience is the fireproof layer on your soul. It's what remains when the plans fall apart, when the heartbreaks cut deep, when the results don't come fast enough, and the world tells you give up. Resilience is your refusal to stay down. It's the whisper that says one more round. It's the decision that this setback will be fertilizer for your future, because every champion has scars, every warrior has tasted dust, every giant has been on their knees, broken and bloody, with nothing but breath left, and still chose to rise. And so must you, because the ones who build empires are not the ones who never fall. They are the ones who fall 7 times and rise 8. They are the ones who get laughed at, doubted, overlooked, and still persist. Your resilience is not a backup plan. It is your superpower. It is what turns adversity into advantage. It is what makes your story worth telling. The world will test the depth of your resilience not with one blow, but with many. It will chip away at your confidence, delay your harvest, and place storms between you and your summit. But storms are not the enemy. They are the proving grounds. The storm does not arrive to destroy you. It arrives to reveal you, to test whether the roots of your purpose run deep enough to hold you when the winds howl, to show you whether your belief is real or just a wish dressed in pretty words. And when you endure it, when you walk through the fire and find your feet still planted, you emerge different, hardened, sharper, not bitter but born again in strength. Because the ones who keep going when there's no applause, no clarity, no reward, they are the ones who become unstoppable. They don't just chase success, they become the embodiment of it. But resilience must be fed, and what feeds it is learning. Not just knowledge, not just reading books and collecting quotes. True learning is humility in motion. It is the willingness to say, I don't know it all. It's the courage to be the student again, even when your ego screams for validation. The future belongs to the learning mind, to the one who studies failure like a textbook, to the one who extracts gold from every mistake, to the one who learns faster than life can knock them down. When Thomas Edison's factory burned to the ground, he didn't curse the sky. He said, there is great value in disaster. All our mistakes are burned up. Thank God we can start anew. That is learning. That is alchemy. That is how you turn ashes into achievement. You must become a master of feedback. Crave it, seek it, devour it. Let your ego starve if it must. But feed your evolution, because in every critique lies a key. In every loss, a lesson. In every failure, a fragment of the formula that will one day unlock your greatness. Learning is how you adapt, how you rise again faster, how you sharpen your edge. And when you combine resilience with learning, something extraordinary happens. You begin to transform not just your results, but your identity. You stop chasing the goal and start becoming the kind of person who cannot lose. Because even in losing, you learn. Even in falling, you build. Even in the valley, you grow roots deep enough to survive any drought. And this is what your future is begging you to understand. It's not about the car, the house, the money, the fame. It's about the version of you required to achieve those things. The evolved self, the forged self, the self that emerges through the grind, not around it. Success is not something you get. It's something you grow into. And that growth demands everything. It demands the death of who you were, the shedding of every excuse, the burial of every version of you that settled, delayed, or feared. The world does not give you what you ask for. It gives you what you demand from yourself. And when you decide, truly decide, that your future will not be denied, then every step, every sacrifice, every sleepless night becomes sacred. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Understand this. The pain of discipline is nothing compared to the agony of regret. The ache of growth is a temporary cost, but the price of staying small, that cost lasts forever. You will not get this life again, this one breath, this one shot. It is yours right now, and the clock is ticking, not in fear but in urgency. Your future is not a concept, it is a demand. It is a living, breathing entity waiting for you to claim it. But it will not wait forever. It will give itself to the bold, the ready, the committed. So stop waiting for the moment to feel right. Stop begging for permission. Stop looking for signs in the sky. The sign is that you're still breathing, that your heart is still beating, that there is still fire in your soul. Do you feel it? That stirring, that quiet rebellion against the average life, that sacred unrest within you? That is not anxiety. That is your future demanding that you rise. It is calling you to make your life a masterpiece, to make your decisions louder than your fears, to make your purpose bigger than your pain. You must move. Now, because the cost of delay is not just lost time, it's lost potential, lost power, lost legacy. Legacy. Yes, that's the word. Because this isn't just about what you build for yourself. It's about what you leave behind. What echoes when you're gone. What continues because you dared to live a life of meaning. Carnegie built steel. Disney built dreams. Lincoln built unity. What will you build? Let that question haunt you until it lights a fire in your chest so bright you cannot sleep. Let it be the fuel that drives your every decision, because the future does not bend to desire. It bows to the disciplined, to the obsessed, to the ones who wake up early not for productivity, but for purpose, to the ones who say, this life will count, even if it cost me everything. The world needs that version of you, not the masked one, not the half-asleep one, but the awakened one, the decided one, the one who heard the call and said, I will not die with my greatness buried inside me. So rise. Rise for the dream that will not wait. Rise for the generations counting on your courage. Rise for the vision that chose you to carry it. Rise because your future demands it, and you were born ready to answer. Every day you wake up is another summons from the future, a whispered command from the life that still waits in the distance. And while the world distracts itself with noise, comfort, and comparison, you must become a builder, not a collector of wishes, not a dabbler in dreams, but a sculptor of destiny. Your hands may bleed, your back may bend, but what you build with sweat will last longer than what anyone hands you with ease. Because what you build changes who you are, and who you become changes everything you touch. This is the secret the world won't say out loud. The future doesn't belong to the lucky. It belongs to the responsible, the ones who take ownership so completely that they never wait to be saved. They save themselves. They build systems where others build excuses. They carve out progress in stone, while others write their goals in sand. Do you know what that means? It means no more blaming, no more wishing someone would rescue you, no more praying for a miracle while doing nothing to deserve it. You are the miracle. You are the answer to the prayer you've been shouting into the night. But miracles do not arrive wrapped in ease. They arrive dressed as effort, as sacrifice, as lonely hours no one sees. You want to be great? Then let go of the life that keeps you average, the identity that makes excuses, the habits that rob your fire, the people who pull you back into the shadows. This is where your real power begins. Not when you add more, but when you subtract everything that no longer serves the vision. Because addition is easy. Subtraction takes courage. It takes the bravery to say, not everything can go with me. And yes, that will hurt. It will mean saying goodbye to comfort, to approval, sometimes even to people you love. But evolution always demands sacrifice. The caterpillar must die to become the butterfly. The old skin must be shed for the new self to breathe. And if you keep choosing the familiar over the future, you will bury your greatness alive. Listen to me. You are not here to repeat history. You are here to rewrite it, to break patterns, not inherit them, to flip the script from survival to significance. That begins with how you see yourself, not how others see you, not how the world labeled you, but how you dare to define yourself when no one's watching. Your identity is the thermostat of your life, and it will only rise when you rewire the internal dialogue. You must stop negotiating with doubt. Stop entertaining the voice that says you're not ready, not worthy, not enough. Those voices are not truth, they are echoes of your past. And if you listen to them, they will chain you to a version of yourself that never deserved to stay. You must become your own prophet, your own architect, your own liberator. You must stand in the mirror and speak life into the reflection, even when your circumstances scream otherwise. I am powerful. I am disciplined. I am worthy of the future calling me. Say it when you feel weak. Say it when you feel small. Say it until your soul starts to believe it and your actions begin to reflect it. Because this is more than motivation. This is transformation. This is the rewiring of identity from the inside out. You don't need more hacks. You need to believe at a level so deep that your doubt starves to death. You need to walk like it's already yours. Talk like it's already done. Act like the doors are already opening. Because they are. But only for the version of you who steps into the storm. The one who stops dipping their toe in purpose and dives in with full commitment. And yes, there will be days when you break. Let it happen. Break if you must, but never back down. Because there is beauty in the break. That's where light enters. That's where your softness meets your strength. That's where empathy is born. And humility finds you. You don't have to be perfect to rise. You just have to refuse to stay broken. Because rising is a choice, not a feeling, not a moment of motivation, but a commitment renewed daily. This is the identity of the unstoppable. They rise when it's dark. They rise when it's unclear. They rise when others fold. Not because it's easy, but because their future demands it. And once you begin to live this way, once your identity aligns with your action and your beliefs align with your vision, you become magnetic. You begin to attract the people, opportunities, and moments that match your frequency. But magnetism is not magic. It is the natural consequence of deep alignment. When your habits match your dreams, when your words match your worth, when your values match your voice, the world responds in kind. That is how greatness is born. Not from noise, but from congruence. And if you've made it this far, if your heart is still pounding, your mind still open, then something inside you already knows. You were made for more. Not more stuff, more impact, more clarity, more contribution, more becoming. And that begins not with the future, but with this moment, this breath, this decision, this step forward. Because it is never too late to rise, only too late to decide that you will. Every decision you make from this moment is a brushstroke on the canvas of your legacy. And what will it say when it's finished? Will it speak of hesitation or hunger, of excuses or execution, of a soul that waited or a soul that moved? You don't get to paint with both hands tied by fear. You don't get to create a masterpiece while doubting every line you draw. At some point, you must burn the backup plan, shatter the illusion of safety, and stand fully, finally, irrevocably, in your truth. The ones who change the world aren't the ones who had the clearest path. They're the ones who walked forward despite the fog. who stepped onto the battlefield without knowing if they would win, only knowing they couldn't walk away. That kind of conviction doesn't come from comfort. It comes from clarity. And clarity is born when you stop asking the world what you're worth and start deciding it. The world didn't give Lincoln permission to lead. He gave it to himself. He rose from obscurity, poverty, ridicule, and still said, "I will not be silenced." When the world said, "You are too simple, too poor, too uneducated," he said, "I will rise anyway." So must you, because no one will hand you your future. You must claim it. You must become so unwavering, so utterly possessed by purpose, that the world has no choice but to move around your fire. And that fire, that raging inner blaze, is not about ego. It is about service. It is about becoming a vessel strong enough to carry your calling. That's why purpose is the anchor. Without it, you drift. You chase one shiny object after another, confusing motion for meaning. But when you are grounded in purpose, your energy becomes lethal. You don't just move, you move with intention. You don't just build, you build with direction. Purpose is not found, it is forged. In solitude, in reflection, in resistance. It is carved from the questions that keep you awake at night. Why am I here? Who am I becoming? What must I give before I go? And once you hear the answer, once your soul whispers that sacred why, you can never unhear it. You can try to distract yourself, numb yourself, hide from it, but it will follow you like a shadow until you confront it. And when you do, you'll realize this: your purpose was never just about you. It was about who needs you fully alive. It was about the people you will never meet, whose lives will be better because you refused to quit, because you rose. It was about your children's children, not the money they'll inherit, but the mindset, the blueprint for courage, the legacy of discipline, the proof that greatness was in their blood all along. You are not just rising for yourself. You are rising for everyone who will follow the path you blaze. And that demands discipline, not the kind of discipline that's temporary, shallow, performative, but the kind that becomes your nature. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and destiny. It's what keeps you building when the applause dies. It's what wakes you up before the sun. It's what gets you to do it again and again and again, even when no one is watching, because it is in those quiet, invisible moments that your future is being built, not on the stage, not under the lights, but in the dark, when it's just you, your vision, and the choice to rise again. You want to know what separates the average from the unstoppable. It's not talent. It's not resources. It's not who they know. It's who they became in the silence. It's the choices they made when quitting was easy. The sacrifices they made that no one clapped for. The habits they built when no one was counting. That's what greatness is: repeated obedience to your future, loyalty to your potential, allegiance to the version of you who refuses to die unfulfilled. And when you live that way long enough, you earn the right to lead, not because of what you have, but because of what you've endured. Leadership is not a crown. It is a weight. It is the burden of vision carried with honor, because real leaders don't point the way. They walk it, bleeding, sacrificing, carrying more than most, and still rising. And one day, when others look to you for strength, when they say, "How did you do it?" you will not speak of luck. You will speak of standards, because this is the final truth. You do not get what you want in life. You get what you are willing to tolerate. If you tolerate distraction, you will live distracted. If you tolerate low energy, you will show up half asleep. If you tolerate average effort, you will get average results. But if you raise your standard, if you decide that anything less than your best is unacceptable, then everything changes. Your environment shifts. Your circle elevates. Your results compound. Because the world doesn't rise to meet your wishes, it rises to meet your standard. And right now, in this moment, you are being given the rarest of invitations, not to hope, not to wait, but to rise. Rise with pain still in your chest. Rise with questions still unanswered. Rise with fear still whispering. Rise anyway, because the ones who do are the ones who change the world. You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You need a decision, a deep, final, all-consuming decision that this life, this one life, will not be wasted in waiting. A decision that excuses are over, that playing small is over, that being at war with your own potential is over, because there is a version of you, future you, that is already standing tall, already winning, already moving through life with precision and peace and power. And every choice you make today either brings you closer to them or buries them deeper. That future version is not just an idea, it is a standard, a model of who you must become. So ask yourself right now, with no filter, no lies, are your actions making that version of you proud, or are they making excuses? Because your future self is watching. Every time you hit snooze, every time you quit early, every time you say maybe tomorrow. And the future does not negotiate. It responds to alignment. If your habits don't match your vision will die. Not because it wasn't real, but because you refuse to become real enough to carry it. You don't need another goal. You need alignment. You need to close the gap between who you say you are and how you live, between your words and your walk. When those align, you won't need to be motivated. You'll be moved, moved by purpose, moved by integrity, moved by the fire of knowing you're becoming who you were born to be. Because that's the secret of the greats. They don't chase feelings. They chase alignment. They rise not because they feel strong, but because they refuse to let weakness make decisions. They rise because their standard is higher than their mood. And when life tests them, as it will, they don't collapse. They adjust. This is where adaptability becomes power. You must become flexible in method but fixed in vision. You must be willing to pivot, rewire, rebuild, but never surrender the dream, because life will never unfold in a straight line. Your plans will be shattered. Your timelines will stretch. People will leave. Doors will close. And still, you must rise. The oak tree does not curse the wind. It learns to bend. It learns to grow deeper roots. It learns to draw strength from the very storm that tried to tear it down. So must you. Adaptability is not weakness. It is evolution. It is how you survive the drought, endure the fire, outlast the winter, and still bloom when the season returns. Because there will be seasons, and if you expect summer forever, you will break when winter comes. But if you embrace every season and learn from each, you become indestructible. Your future doesn't need someone who is lucky. It needs someone who is elastic, able to stretch without breaking, able to shift without losing self, able to be humbled, hurt, even humiliated, and still move forward. That is the kind of person who earns the future they dream of. And when you live this way, fully aligned, purpose-driven, adaptable, you become a light, a force, not just a success story, but a signal, a living example of what is possible when a human being says no more to mediocrity. You begin to attract others who are ready to rise, not with words, with presence, with the quiet authority of someone who has walked through fire and kept going. You don't need to preach. You become the message, because your energy will say what your voice never has to. It will say, I've done the work. I've earned this peace. I know who I am because I bled to meet them, and others will feel it. They will rise just by being in your presence, because fire doesn't ask permission to burn. It simply ignites. That is the gift of walking this path. You stop needing recognition. You stop chasing applause. You stop depending on validation. You know who you are. You know where you're going. And that knowing becomes your compass, your currency, your calm. This is freedom. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of power in the midst of it. And once you taste this kind of freedom, you will never settle again. Not in relationships, not in work, not in standards, not in life. Because you'll know. You didn't come this far just to survive. You came to lead, to rise, to change the atmosphere wherever you go. And if it feels hard, if it feels heavy, good. That means you're close. That means you're lifting weight that matters. That means the future is leaning in, watching, waiting to see. Will you rise this time? Not half-hearted, not with conditions, but with total surrender to the greatness within you. Because this is the final test. The final gate, the place where most turn back, not because they aren't capable, but because they never decided. Let this be the moment you decide, with your whole chest, with your full being, with fire in your eyes and steel in your spine, that your future will not be a fantasy. It will be a fact, because you will build it, because you are building it, brick by brick, choice by choice, day by day. The world will not see the quiet mornings, the tears behind closed doors, the battles you fought alone, but it will see what you built from them, and when it does, it will know, it will remember, that you were one of the few who heard the call and answered it. And now we are here at the edge of comfort, the edge of the old identity, the edge of who you've been and who you were born to become. Look around. This is where most people stop. This is where dreams are abandoned, where futures are delayed, where potential is sacrificed on the altar of fear. But you didn't come here to stop. You didn't come this far to turn around and retreat. You came to rise, and to rise, truly rise, means letting go of everything that no longer belongs to your future. Let go of the doubt. It never served you. It only slowed you. Let go of the guilt. You cannot carry it and ascend at the same time. Let go of the fear. It was never protecting you. It was only preventing you. There is no space for your old story in the new chapter. There is no space for hesitation in a life of boldness. There is no space for shame in a heart lit by purpose. And most of all, there is no space for waiting. Because your future is not a concept. It is not a dream. It is demanding you, right here, right now. The clock is ticking, not in fear, but in urgency. Because somewhere out there is a life with your name on it, a life that looks nothing like the one you're tolerating. It is filled with alignment, with clarity, with depth, with fire, with people who match your frequency, with work that lights your soul instead of draining your spirit, with mornings that begin with purpose and nights that end with peace. But that life isn't found. It is forged. It's not for the lucky. It's not for the chosen. It's for the committed. It's for the ones who are done explaining themselves, done delaying, done asking for permission to be powerful. It's for the one who dares to say, this is who I am now. This is what I stand for now. This is the level I operate at, and nothing less will do. This is about walking into every room and no longer shrinking, not because you're louder, but because you've become clearer. Clear in your values, clear in your vision, clear in your mission. Because once you get clear, truly clear, everything in your life must rise to meet it or fall away. That's the beautiful violence of transformation. It does not negotiate. It destroys what no longer fits. And from the rubble you rise, not as who you were, but as who you chose to become. The future doesn't belong to the strongest. It belongs to the most decisive, not the ones with perfect plans, but the ones who say, I will figure it out, because I must. The ones who are willing to fall 1,000 times, if it means rising one more. The ones who stop counting losses, because every loss sharpened the blade. And now the blade is ready. You are ready, not because it's easy, but because it's yours. This is your path, your calling, your moment, and the world will not hand it to you. It never has. It never will. You must take it. You must walk through the noise. You must carry your doubt and your faith in the same bag and still move forward. Because this is not about perfection. It's about direction. It's about building so much internal momentum that nothing external can stop it. You become the storm. You become the force. You become the answer you've been praying for. And when the noise rises, as it will, when the voices say you can't, you remind them, I already did. When the fear creeps in, as it will, you remind it, I no longer take instructions from limitation. And when the old self knocks on the door, you don't answer, because you are no longer home. You've moved on. You've moved up. This is your elevation. This is your emergence. This is your rising. So breathe in this moment, not as who you've been, but as who you've chosen to be. And now stand. Rise, move, not later, not tomorrow, Now, because your future isn't asking politely, it is not whispering, it is roaring, and it is demanding you to rise.